The most progressive thing you can do today is not to support a certain political issue, but to actually fortify your debating skills so that you can win more arguments and bring more people to your side instead of losing relationships. Because today, more than ever, we are losing our friends and family members to simple differences of opinion. That is a lot of pressure, especially because our schooling system did not really teach us how to debate. Debate was always seen as something very lofty, high achieving, reserved for TV news or college campuses. It's almost like thinking that meditation is only for the sages in the Himalayas, But no, just like meditation is applicable to our living rooms today, so is debating skills. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can prepare for a debate, how you can structure a debate, deal with the counter arguments and jabs, and keep it calm and contained without things getting crazy. By the way, this is a new channel and I would love to know where you're watching me from. So step one will be about choosing a side. The biggest mistake that people do today is select a side based on peer pressure, what the friends around you are thinking and doing, almost fearful that if you do not fall into that camp, you are going to be left out. Sometimes we are simply guided by our family values, by religions, and we have never learned to question them. Sometimes we pick a side just by reading headlines and the talking points without actually deep diving into the topic and finding out the ground realities. The truth is, all of us are trying to be on the right side of history, but that is a tall order. So while picking a side, this is what I want you to remember. You are not picking a side because of the morality of the today, what works today. You will be picking a side based on what will be the downstream consequences of that action. For example, if you're thinking about abortion, you can't just think whether abortion is good or bad. You have to think of the downstream consequences of having or not having that option. Similarly, if you're thinking whether Kashmir belongs to India or not, you have to think of the downstream consequences. What happens if it separates? What does China do? And what happens to the laws of Kashmir if it stays with India? So unless you have weighed out the downstream consequences, you cannot say you've truly picked a side. You have not covered all your bases. If you like content like this, then do like and subscribe to this channel. Step number 2, preparing for the debate. In this matter, I loved what Jennifer Garner, the Hollywood actress, did. When her children wanted to have social media and cell phones and internet and everything, this is what she did. She said, show me one article, show me one statistic that shows that this is good for children, this is good for teenagers, and I'm going to give it to you. And that is one major factor missing from our debates and discussions and arguments today. We are not looking at numbers. We are not looking at statistics. So even if you say something as nice as all religions teach us love, where is the statistics? Without seeing the data and the statistics, you cannot possibly form an opinion. In India, if you are harassed and molested, I'm not using that one gory 4-letter word, but if that happens to a woman and then she is killed, then that crime is filed under murder and not under that horrible act done to women. So you see, we don't actually have the real statistics for this act. We have only the real statistics for the murder. So we as a society should push for more statistics. If you're liking what you're watching so far, then do like and subscribe. Another part of preparing for a debate is to figure out whether what you have been fed is a real information or is it a fake information. One time I asked AI whether this particular phone had this feature, then I would buy the phone. The AI said, yes, it does have that feature. And I bought that phone only to find out that that feature is not available on that phone and I had to return the phone. That's how much misinformation is out there. AI will confidently lie to your face. And there are dime a dozen news articles which cover only 5% of the news, hides 90% of the news. And you have to deep dive, look at comment sections and lots of other things to figure out whether the information that is fed to you is correct information or not. Hey, at this point, I would love for you to like and subscribe. You can't always cite data and statistics in your living room while talking to your friends and family. What you need to support and get your point across and be more convincing is anecdotal evidence, a certain incident, a certain news story that happened somewhere that will back up the statistics that you have. And here, one very important tool or statement to use and remember is that exception proves the rule. Sometimes people will point to an exception and say, oh, but there is a case for this because there is a certain exception, then you have to say that that is an exception. An exception proves the rule, whether it's a gender debate, behavior of men or women. By the way, you can like and subscribe to this channel. This brings me to the point of whataboutery. You say something and you want to talk about something, and the other person will say, but what about that? And change the topic. Like very often when we talk about harassment against women, a lot of men will say, but it happens to men as well. This is where you have to bring them back to the original topic and say, well, if you want to talk about that, we can definitely talk about that. But first, let's finish talking about this. And you reel them back into your line of thought. And now I'll give you a second to subscribe to this channel if you want. Along with whataboutery, another thing that people resort to very often and very unnecessarily these days is name calling. The moment you say something about a topic, they will associate you with this entire world of political opinions that goes along with it. You instantly either become a right wing or a left wing, a fascist or a terrorist or a privileged or patriarchal. See, this is exactly where we are losing our friends and family. Just stick to the argument, because if your argument is good enough, then it's good enough. You don't have to label and brand anybody for your argument to win. And so, if anybody instantly brands you and labels you, you have to say, you can always use whatever names and labels you want for me, but we have to hold that till the end of the debate. The other response you can do here is something I use very often. I am not the topic. Let's discuss the topic. If you want to discuss me, make me the topic. Make a post about it. And now it's time for you to subscribe to this channel. Another strategy to keep your friends and family happy when you're having a difference in opinion and having a heated debate is to first empathize with them. It's almost like gambit in chess. So the gambit for debate is to first empathize, to find one common ground, one little thing that you both agree on and say, yes, I totally agree with you on this, and soften the blow. And then come back on hard saying, but, and then lead with reason, logic, data, statistics, anecdotes, what have you. And here's my last and final point. When I used to work in radio, we were told that an advertisement has to play at least 10 times for somebody to register the message. So if you differ with somebody, don't give up instantly. And sometimes it's not even about being wrong. The other person can be perfectly correct and still come across as racist, sexist, patriarchal. The objective is not actually to win an argument. The objective is to actually have that discussion, have that exchange. If you cannot say what you want to say, or if the other person cannot say what they really think in front of you, then you have lost democracy, you have lost freedom of speech even before the government took it away from you. But if you walk away knowing something extra, or if the other person walks away knowing something extra, then you have done your part. And now it's time for you to subscribe to this channel. It's a new channel and it's a blessing to have a new subscriber. So go ahead, subscribe, and thank you so much for the support. And I hope to see you in the next video.